Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would do a video telling you about my personal experience attending Coachella in 2019. Coachella was a bucket list item of mine since I was a teenager, and I know that it is for a lot of other people too. Coachella is obviously a festival that gets a ton of coverage on social media, but I thought I would give you the rundown coming from the perspective of a regular couple that is traveling from Canada to attend Coachella. So I'll give you all of the details, including cost, timeline, how we got our tickets, and just any other tips that I think would help you have the best experience possible. So if you're interested, then please keep on watching. This video is kindly sponsored by my favorites over at Ana Luisa. They craft high quality jewelry pieces at an affordable price point. And for Mother's Day, they're actually running a sale on their website for buy one, get 40% off. So you can get a little gift for your mom to show her appreciation on Mother's Day. And then you can also get something for yourself too at a discount. So what's not to love? And aside from quality time, I think there's no better gift to show your mom how much you appreciate her than with jewelry. Everything that I am wearing today is from Ana Luisa, so if there's anything that I'm wearing that catches your attention, everything will be linked in the description box below for your reference. If I was to recommend a gift, I would probably go with the letter necklace. I think that this is something you could get for yourself and your mom. That way you're wearing something that matches, but it's also personalized to your initial. Or you could get both necklaces to your mom and then she can wear them stacked together with your initial and her initial together. If your mom is more of a bracelet person, there's also a letter bracelet that you can get from their site, and the letter on the bracelet is bedazzled as opposed to the necklace, which is full gold. So that's also another option. This bracelet is really cute and dainty, and it comes with 3 different lengths. So I really like that because I have really small wrists, so I like that it can adjust the bracelet to my liking. Otherwise, everything else that I'm wearing are kind of my staples. So I wear this Meesh necklace a lot, and this one actually comes with matching earrings. So I think getting your mom a set could actually be a very practical gift so that she doesn't have to worry about matching it with things that she already has. I'm also wearing the twist ring on this finger, which is a bit bolder. And then on this side, I have some more dainty rings. I have the Paisley right here and the Celine. I actually love this band so much. This is exactly what I'm looking for my wedding band. And then finally, I'm wearing my usual stack with the Paris hoops, which is like your perfect everyday medium-sized hoop. So these are just a few of my favorites, but of course they have a way bigger selection to shop from on their website, so I'd encourage you to check it out at the link in my description box. Now let's get in Coachella mode. So I'm going to be reading off my phone a lot because there's a lot to cover. So let's talk about the timeline. So Coachella is a 3-day festival which happens over 2 weekends in the month of April. Typically the lineup drops within the first 2 weeks of January, and then from there a few days later the tickets go on sale. That's regular tickets, and when you go to buy your tickets you can pick between weekend 1 or weekend 2. Another way to buy tickets is to buy them during the pre-sale, which is typically in June, so essentially 10 days before the festival. There's pros and cons to both. Of course, if you buy pre-sale tickets, you're buying before you've seen the lineup, so you're committing to attending the festival regardless of who is performing. A huge pro to getting pre-sale tickets is that you can participate in their payment plan, which is over 6 or 7 months. Tickets when we went were $429 US. So obviously it's a huge chunk of money, especially if you're a student like we were at the time. So it was really nice to just pay little by little leading up to Coachella. It was monthly payments, and then by the time it came up we didn't have anything to pay towards. You can also choose to cancel before the last payment in December, and if you do cancel, I think there's just a $50 charge. So there is always that option. You can cancel your tickets for the last payment. We decided to get our tickets from the pre-sale because we discussed and we both knew we really wanted to go to Coachella. No matter what, we just wanted to experience it. And looking at previous lineups, we always liked the lineups every year. We always knew that there were a handful of artists that we'd want to see, and we know that Coachella aligned with the type of music that we like, so we were not too worried about there being artists that we wanted to see, especially because it was our first time. Another reason why we got pre-sale is we heard that during the general sale it's really hard to get tickets because they sell out within minutes. And even for the pre-sale, we actually initially were going for weekend one tickets, and those sold out like immediately. Essentially, when the tickets go on sale, you go to the website, you select which tickets you want, and then you're kind of in line to purchase. And we were in line for weekend one for a while, and then they ended up being sold out. So we had to quickly go back to the main menu, pick weekend two, and go through the process again. And we were lucky to get weekend two tickets. So not gonna lie, that was a pretty stressful situation, so I can't even imagine how on the ball you have to be to get tickets during the general sale. So now moving on to weekend one versus weekend two. Typically, weekend one is known as the weekend where celebrities and bigger influencers that work with brands while attending Coachella attend. So I wanted to go weekend one because I wanted to spot celebrities like Kendall Jenner and Hailey Bieber. So if you want to spot some celebrities, usually you should aim for weekend one. But I do hear that it's a lot more crowded than weekend two. And weekend two is known for there being more musical guests. And I can attest that that's true for the year that we went. We saw Kanye because Kid Cudi brought him out. Tame Impala brought out A$AP Rocky. Ariana Grande brought out Justin Bieber, which was so cool. She did bring out Nicki Minaj the weekend before. So I think both weekends you will have the chance to see some guest performances, but apparently weekend two is known to have more of that. Another con that you could say about attending weekend two is that technically the performances are spoiled for you because they're obviously going to repeat the same show the weekend after. So we just try to make sure we didn't watch any live streams just to keep an element of surprise. And oh my gosh, the sun is here to shine. Something else that you might factor into whether you pick weekend one or two is the weekend that Easter weekend falls on. For us, it actually worked out that we got weekend two tickets because it ended up being Easter long, so we had 4 days off and didn't actually need to take any time off to be able to go to Coachella. But Easter weekend is not always weekend two. I know for this year, for Coachella 2022, weekend one was actually on Easter, so maybe just look at the calendar and see if that's something that matters to you. Okay, I had to put the blinds down. But next category is getting to the festival and returning from the festival. You can get dropped off by an Uber or someone if you live in Palm Springs, obviously. Or you can take a shuttle, or I guess you can stay and camp at Coachella. We decided to go with the shuttle option. It was just the most affordable option aside from camping, but we didn't want to do that. So we did get an Airbnb in Indian Wells, which I'll go into in a second. The way that the shuttles work is they come, I think, approximately every 20 minutes. And on the website, it shows all of the different stops that the shuttle stops at. So since we knew that we were going to be taking the shuttle, when we started to look for Airbnbs in the Palm Springs area, we made sure that the Airbnb we chose was close to one of the shuttle stop locations. So I think our Airbnb was 5 minutes from the closest shuttle stop. So we were able to take a 5-minute Uber to get to it. Then we would hop on the shuttle and it would take us directly to Coachella. And then for returning from the festival, it would be the same thing. We would go to the shuttle line, get into a shuttle after the festival, and then we would get off at our stop. And then from there, we got an Uber back to our Airbnb. It was a little bit far to walk. I would say ideally try and find an Airbnb where you can walk to the shuttle. That way you just don't even have to worry about Ubers. We only had issues getting an Uber one night, and it was actually returning from Coachella. I think we waited over 30 minutes, but otherwise we didn't really have any issues. The Uber prices are obviously a little bit more expensive because there's a high demand, but that is why you make sure that all of your distances will be quite short, and then you can make sure to keep it at a smaller Uber budget. There's tons of Uber drivers from LA that come to Palm Springs for the weekend, so I felt the area was pretty prepared for the demand of Ubers. I would 100% recommend to use the shuttle option to get to the festival. They were on time. We never really had to wait too long. The vibe in the shuttles was really cool. Like, everyone was good vibes. There were never any issues with like violence, anything like that. Everyone's like excited to get to the festival, and then on the way back everyone's tired. So it was very safe and very organized. When you get there, they have people telling you where to go from the moment that you leave the bus. For the way out, I thought it was very well managed as well. They would kind of have people line up to get into a shuttle, and then once the lineup got too long, they got people to go to a different one. Obviously, Coachella is very crowded, so when leaving at the end of the night, it was definitely slow because it's like this huge crowd all getting out. Just make sure that you're holding hands with the people that you're there with. And then I also always made sure to put my phone away to make sure it wasn't gonna get stolen or lost. Overall, based on how many people attend the festival, I was actually pretty impressed at how the logistics were managed. An issue that I've heard people run into is waiting for an Uber at the festival. They can get expensive and there's a lot of traffic. Essentially, they're all lining up to get to the pickup area, so you may be waiting for your Uber like over 30 minutes until they get to it. So in the meantime, you're kind of outside and you're cold because it does get really cold in the desert at night. I pretty much covered accommodation, but you can kind of look in Indian Wells, Palm Springs, La Quinta, and Rancho Mirage. I don't know how to pronounce that, but these are all the areas that are along the shuttle line. I hear that finding accommodations that don't cost an arm and a leg is like impossible if you choose to go to Coachella last minute. So knowing that, try and book your accommodation as early as you can. Even if you're not sure you're going to be attending the festival, try and find an Airbnb or a hotel with a free cancellation policy. That way you can make sure you get a decent price, because they do increase as it gets closer to Coachella, and then when there's nothing left, people will just increase their prices like crazy. So we booked our Airbnb, like I said, 10 months before the festival, and it came down to approximately $150 a night each. Okay, let's talk about total cost. So I have it all written down here. Our flights from Edmonton to Palm Springs were $420. Our tickets were $429 USD, which was about $550 Canadian. So it's definitely like the most expensive tickets you'll ever buy for an event, but honestly it's so worth it. You get to see dozens and dozens of artists that you love. And I saw actually that this year the tickets actually increased to $550 USD dollars. So it is not cheap to attend Coachella. The shuttle was $80 USD, so it was about 120 Canadian dollars. And then our Airbnb, we did stay 6 days, but I prorated it for the 4 days, so Thursday to Monday over Coachella, just so that you get an idea. We paid $587 each. So total, just for tickets, shuttle, flights, and accommodation, were $1,680 Canadian. This doesn't include food, alcohol, and Ubers. So long story short, it costs about $2,000 to just attend Coachella. I definitely think we could have saved some money, especially on accommodation, if we had been 4 people. I think most Airbnbs cater to groups of 4. So I think when you're 2, you do have to spend a little bit more money. Same with food. We could have like split with other people. There's definitely pros and cons to going with a group versus just going with a friend or your boyfriend. The best part was that we could make our own schedule of who we wanted to see without having to compromise. Obviously, the larger your group is, the more you're gonna have to make sacrifices on who you might not see because your friend really wants to see that artist, or you're gonna have to make a call and split up. So I just felt like logistically it was really easy to be us 2. Having said that, we did know a decent amount of people from Edmonton that were there. We met up with 2 different groups that we knew from Edmonton that were at Coachella, and we actually ran into people that we knew from Edmonton. It's so crazy that you can run into people from your hometown at a huge festival like Coachella. I thought it was really nice to have a chance to see people we knew and watch a few shows with them, but then also go off and do our own thing when we didn't want to see the same artists. So no regrets with that. I would totally recommend it if you're concerned about just going with one person. You will have so much fun regardless, and if anything, it'll just make it easier and more flexible, even with making decisions like what time you want to get to the festival, what time you want to leave the festival, all of that. Is it worth it? I think it was 100% worth it. I had high expectations going to Coachella based on what I had seen, and it completely exceeded my expectations. Having said that, both Matt and I had been to festivals before, so we had a good set of expectations, which helped us not be disappointed. At the end of the day, regardless of how big Coachella is, it is a festival. So that means you're going to be standing for over 8 hours at once. So your feet are going to hurt. You're going to do a lot of walking. It's incredibly hot because you're in the desert. You're not always going to find shade. It's extremely crowded, and there are going to be lines. So I think as long as you know to expect that, you're not going to be disappointed. It's like just being at the grounds was amazing. The vibe was awesome. I think it all comes down to going for the right reason. If you are not passionate about live music, I don't understand why you would go to Coachella. The idea of being at Coachella just to take pictures or for the clout is just not enough to make your experience good, because you are going to have to experience all of these things. You're also just paying a lot of money for that weekend. So if you're not there for the music, I don't think it's worth it. But if you love live music, it was an incredible experience. And the best part is a lot of the performers bring out guest artists. That is something that I have never experienced at any other live music event, and I think it makes Coachella so special. Now, would I attend Coachella again? 100% I would want to go again. However, like I said, it's a $2,000 commitment. So I think for the first time that you experience it, it really is priceless because everything is new to you. Now that I would know what to expect, and now that I wouldn't have that like sense of novelty, I think it would really depend on the lineup. So if there were a handful of artists that I really wanted to see, I think I could consider going again, but I don't think I could go into it blindly like we did for our first time there. Moving on to the last section of this video, which is my tips. Number one, water. You need a water pack. You're in the desert. It's incredibly hot. You're going to feel dehydrated, especially if you're drinking. My boyfriend had like a mini backpack with a water pack in it, so we just refilled it. So that way, if you're feeling dehydrated in the middle of a performance, you don't have to step out to go grab water. You can just rely on the water pack. There's also decent lines when you get to the water station, so it's just nice to have that water pack to stop you from having to line up every time you get thirsty. What to pack? So you are not able to bring a large backpack. I believe there's like a size maximum. But if you are wanting to bring more things than you can fit in your backpack, I think you can get a locker. Like if you wanted to get like a sweater for nighttime or anything like that. We were able to go without renting out a locker. We just brought the essentials. So number one, I would bring like a thin blanket or like tapestry. I have one that was super thin. I could just roll it up and shove it in at the bottom of my mini backpack, and I think that comes in handy if you want to just lay on the grass, if there's maybe a more like chill show that you're watching, or if you want to just like people watch, you can just put it down and just lay there and take a little break from standing and dancing. So we use that every day. I would also bring a charger because I obviously wanted to record all of the performances. So you're taking a lot of pictures, so your battery is gonna die really fast. So make sure you're able to charge your phone. Credit card, ID, I would say don't bring your full wallet. It's not worth it, and there's a chance that you might get your stuff stolen. So only bring what you really need. Water pack, like I said, and then a baggy t-shirt. The reason for that is I didn't have enough room in my backpack to pack a sweater, and as much as it's really hot during the day, it gets pretty chilly at night, especially if you're wearing something with like an open back and a crop top. So I found that if I just put on a baggy t-shirt over what I was wearing, just to cover my shoulders, my back, and like the middle of my body essentially, it would keep me warm enough for the rest of the night. I would say legs don't matter as much because you're in crowds. I would say you can even bring like a jean jacket or a sweater for nighttime, but I just didn't want to be carrying it around. Okay, the sun is back. This next tip I feel like is one not many people discuss, but it is a very bad idea to show up without a plan and a schedule. You need to schedule ahead of time who you're going to see and at what time, and you need to know what stage they're going to be at and what makes sense for traveling, and you also need to make time for when you're going to eat. Also, just be aware that you might have to make some difficult calls. So if there's two artists that you really like that are playing, you know, with a bit of overlap, you can choose to see them both, but you're better off leaving the previous set early so that you can be closer to the stage if you care to be at the front. It's really an art to schedule your days at Coachella, but Matt and I did that. We actually sat down and made a whole itinerary and also followed the map just so we knew how far each stage was from each other. And same with food. You're going to have to miss out on a show in order to eat food. The food area is actually close to one of the stages. I'm not sure what it's called, but if you look at the map, you'll be able to see. So maybe try and be strategic and go eat when an artist that you really like is going to be playing at the stage that's the closest to the food area. On the topic of eating, food and drinks are extremely expensive at Coachella. You're going to be paying $20 US for a highball. I'm sure you could try and be a little budget conscious and go for the cheaper items, but honestly, we were like, honestly, let's just spend an extra $100 a day on food and drinks. Like, who cares at that point? But the food options are awesome. They had like so many vendors and they have like really cool meals. It is expensive, but you do get some good quality food. But yeah, drinks are going to be expensive, so if you are worried about how much you're gonna have to spend on that, I would say just don't drink. We did pre-drink, of course, before the festival, so obviously it was fun to like get into the shuttle and get to the grounds feeling tipsy, but you're gonna have to top it up at some point, so just be prepared to spend some money. Okay, now moving on to footwear. To be honest, your feet are going to hurt regardless of what you wear. I wore combat boots one day. The second day I actually wore booties with like a really small heel, and the third day I wore sneakers, and I feel like my feet all hurt the same at the end of the day. Obviously try to wear shoes that aren't going to give you blisters and that you've already broken in. So do not wear your Doc Martens if you haven't broken them in. And do bring some band-aids in case. But yeah, I felt like at the end of the day my feet were hurting, especially just the bottom of your heel, because you're just like stomping on your feet. And so definitely treat yourself to a pedicure after, because yeah, your feet are going to go through a lot. I think the biggest tip for shoes is wear shoes with good socks, and do not wear open toe shoes because you are going to be stepped on a lot. Also make sure that they're shoes that you can easily wash if you care about the shoes, because you're going to get stepped on. So all of my shoes were some kind of leather, so it was really easy to just like wash off the dirt that got on them. Okay, the sun is setting, so this tells me that this video has gone on for too long, so I'm gonna try to wrap it up. This next one is find a spot to meet if you're meeting up with people, because the service is extremely unreliable. Half the time your text won't send unless you're in like a very specific spot. So whoever you are with in your group, it's not worth splitting up. So like Matt and I always, if one of us had to go to the washroom, we went together and then waited for each other in a specific spot. And then same with meeting with people, we picked a specific spot to meet. We used the same meeting spot every day, and then we decided a time. So like, let's meet after Juice World or whatever. If you like to take pictures like me, get your pictures done as soon as you get to the grounds. It's going to get busier as the night goes on. And also, if you get your pictures out of the way, then you can just enjoy yourself and not have to worry about when you're going to get your pictures. Another tip is ideally try to find a place with a pool. You do have some time, you know, in the morning and early afternoon before you head to the grounds, obviously depending on what time you want to show up. But I feel like it was so nice to start our day with like having breakfast and then going to lay out and like enjoy the pool, just because it's so hot. It was just really enjoyable, and also to just like let our feet rest. So I thought that was a really nice value add to our time there. And I feel like I should give you an idea of what a day during Coachella looks like. We got to Palm Springs Thursday night. We checked into our place and we actually went to a grocery store just to get some food for breakfast and lunch. Every day we would wake up, make breakfast, then we would go lay out by the pool and hang out outside, and then after that we would have lunch and get ready, and we would try and be prepared to be at the shuttles around like 4 p.m. Like we tried to get to Coachella before 5 p.m. You can go earlier. I think like the first performers start around 2 p.m. but we knew we were gonna be there till 1 a.m. so just be aware of that and plan accordingly. So we felt like the hot spot for us was like 4 to 5 p.m. From there at Coachella, every day was different depending on who we wanted to see that day, and then whenever there was time, anytime between like 6:30 and 8, that's when we made time to go eat something just so that we could be good to go for the rest of the night. And then you repeat that for 3 days in a row. And after that, you are so tired. So my last tip is stay in Palm Springs longer. I would have died if I had to go back to work the day after Coachella. You are so exhausted, but then also at the same time, you're kind of depressed after 3 days because it's like there was all of these things going on, all of these artists that you were seeing, and then it's like over all of a sudden. So we actually stayed in Palm Springs 2 extra days and it was really relaxing and definitely nice to have the time off. Okay, the sun is officially in my face. My last tip before I wrap this up is make sure to build in time to explore the grounds. There's so many cool things to see. The promo tents were the coolest. We had such a fun time at the Heineken tent and at the Absolute Vodka tent. It was literally like a glow-in-the-dark bar in a tent with like its own DJ and everything. So make sure to experience all of that because I think that's what makes Coachella so unique from different music festivals. So those were all my tips. I hope it was helpful, and if you're planning a trip to Coachella and you have any additional questions, don't hesitate to leave a comment and I will gladly answer your questions. Don't forget about Ana Luisa's Mother's Day sale. They have buy one 40% off, so it's the perfect excuse to buy something for your mom and then buy yourself a little something at a discount. So happy shopping and enjoy the rest of your day.